Meeting of the planning board, July, I'm pushing it, July 28th to order. And first on the agenda would be the minutes, Mr. Secretary, of July 14th.
With all due respect, I have to read the governor's statement.
Oh, I'm
Yes.
sorry.
Yes, you do.
That's critical. Thank you, Paul.
In accordance with the governor's order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law relating to the 2020 novel coronavirus emergency, the July 28th, 2020 public meeting of the Falmouth Planning Board shall be physically closed to the public to avoid group congregation. Alternative public access to this meeting shall be provided in the following manner. 1, the meeting will be televised via Falmouth Community Television. 2, real-time public commitment can be addressed to the planning board utilizing the Zoom virtual meeting software for remote access. This application will allow users to view the meeting, send a comment or question to the chair via the comments be read into the record. The appropriate Zoom instructions for the meeting. Link for this specific meeting can be found following http://www.falmouthmass.us/1112/planning board. Please plan on 10 to 15 minutes of preparation time to log in, though it may be less if you have previously used Zoom on the device you will use to access the meeting. 3, additionally, public comments may be sent in advance to the meeting to planning@falmouthma.gov at least 5 hours prior to the beginning of the meeting. Documents and audio or video files may also be submitted via email. Submitted email comments and documents will be made part of the meeting record and may be read into the record, summarized, or displayed during the meeting at the discretion of the chair. 4, applicants, their representatives, and individuals with enforcement matters for the planning board may appear remotely and are not required to be physically present. Applicants, their representatives, and individual enforcement matters before the planning board may contact the planning department to arrange an alternate means of real-time participation if unable to use the Zoom virtual meeting software. Documentary exhibits and/or visual presentations should be submitted in advance of the meeting to the planning@falmouthma.gov so that they may be displayed for remote public viewing.
Thank you, Paul. Now, the minutes of July 14th.
I recommend approval of the minutes of July 14th. That's correct.
Is there a second? Okay. It's been recommended as approval and seconded. Are there any comments, Jim?
Nope, voting yes.
Oh, you're voting yes. Okay. May I see a show of hands for yes? Okay, all in favor. Thank you. I would like to have a motion. I've got you, Charlotte. I would like to have a motion to take the citation for Assistant Town Planner Corey Pacheco out of order so that we can get it read right now. May I have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor
Aye.
of taking this out of order? Okay. And who with a nice strong voice would like to read this?
I'll read it. I don't know about the strong voice.
Come on, Bob. Thank you.
Okay. The Falmouth Planning Board extends its appreciation to Corey Pacheco in recognition of his outstanding support of the work of the Planning Board and commitment to the town of Falmouth's goals for preserving and enhancing Falmouth's distinctive character. Due to Corey's knowledge, diligence, accessibility, and patience with the board members, petitioners to the board, and the general public, the work of the board was accomplished with greater kindness, efficiency, and effectiveness. Corey began his 6 years of service as the Assistant Town Planner, Community Development, a part-time position that allowed him to care for his young daughter and support the Falmouth Historical Commission. Within a year, he was the acting Assistant Town Planner, filling a void for 2.5 years until he was hired from a competitive field as the Assistant Town Planner within the Planning Department, with board responsibility for administration of land use, zoning, and permitting, as well as staffing 2 boards. With the retirement of the long-serving town planner, Corey was sole representative for Falmouth planning functions for months. He is particularly remembered for staffing the final stages of development of the local comprehensive plan, providing formatting and graphics, as well as advising the planners. The hallmark of Corey's service were sensitivity to aesthetics, attention to detail, and willingness to share information. We commend Corey as a model public servant and regret his loss. Sincerest thanks and admiration and best wishes for the future.
Thank you, Bob, very much. That is all I want to add, just a very heartfelt commendation from all of us. Oh, and we've got a thank you from Corey.
You're
Okay,
welcome, Corey.
thanks.
You deserve it.
Yes. Can I have a motion now to go back to the agenda, please?
So moved.
Is there a second? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, only 2 of us in favor of it to go back.
No,
to-
I said, we all raised our hand.
Oh, I didn't see you raise a hand. Okay,
But something's wrong with Pam's screen. It's distracting. It looks like a romper room mirror, and she's trying to talk to us. There's something wrong there. What's going on?
okay. Thank you, all of you. The first on the agenda is a public meeting. Applicant is Borrego Solar, definitive plan application to create a right-of-way on town of Falmouth property that will provide access to the, to the town of Falmouth property and Lawrence Lynch's abutting property located at 0 Locust Field Road, map number 2302010001, Holmes and McGrath. And I believe Mr. McGrath is here to present the changes. Is that true,
He's muted.
Thomas? Oh, there he is.
Hold up your sign, Bob.
Mike, you have to unmute yourself and do the video.
Start video too.
All right.
Yeah, so as you well know,
There you
sometimes
are.
I'm in the background working the screens here to let Thomas know who to elevate. I believe we have Ed Kirk in the house as well, although Ed is typically an audio participant.
Okay,
Good evening. My name is Mike McGrath. I'm a registered professional land surveyor and a professional engineer of my firm. Prepare the plan. So I'd like permission to share the screen so I can bring up the exhibit that I prepared.
of course, Mike.
I I hope you can see this is a graphic of the subdivision plan that's pending before you at the moment. It's
Mike, it has not come up on the screen. I'm sorry.
Select the window.
Mike, I'm happy to share my screen if you'd like. I have the plan that was submitted.
Okay.
Thank you, Michaela.
Yes, the only difference between this and mine is that mine's colored. The bottom line is that the Borrego Solar has signed a lease to construct a solar field on land that belongs to Lawrence Lynch Realty Corporation. And as part of the major plan review, which you approved, the planning board asked that this road be created. and it's being filed as a subdivision plan. The plan shows that the layout goes completely on the north side of what used to be lot 1 and 2. They're now relabeled 4 and 5. There's a temporary turnaround shown. And there's also the word access easement and right of way on the entire layout. The layout's 44 feet. The next thing we should talk about is the road construction plan. Could you show that?
Yep, just one moment. Hang on just one moment. I'll bring that up.
Thank you. What exists today is that I don't know if you can see my arrow, but the pavement of Locust Field Road actually is on the westerly portion of the layout in front of this site. There has been, since this is an active sand and gravel pit, there are 10-wheelers and trailer dumps that travel up and down this road. There is an existing paved entrance that goes in a ways. And what this plan shows, if we get down to the profile, we're showing that if you look, there's a property line and there's a existing roadway that's been there for, I don't know, since the mid 80s. And, but we've agreed to remove and dispose of that pavement. And this heavy line is the new proposed pavement that's going to be constructed on the road. There is going to be a low point that's shown where these two dark squares are. And there's a set of catch basins there that lead to a leaching basin. The leaching basin sits in the midst of basically a man-made depression. We have filed with the planning board drainage calcs that show that the drainage system is sufficient. The sand, the soils that exist there are obviously sand and gravel because it's been mined for, as I said, probably 40 years. So one of the things that has come up in the review and we've already presented this one, but there turns out to be a legal problem with the previous hearing, was we asked for certain waivers. The first waiver we had was there's insufficient distance between this center line and the center line of where Locust Field Road comes in. And the required distance is about 300 feet, and what there is 95 feet. And as I said, the project has been used without any accidents for over 40 years. It's been actively used as a haul road. So there's insufficient room to change the location of the road. So we asked the board to waive it. Then what happens is if we go back to the subdivision plan, what we asked for was that we don't have the required sideline radius at the northerly side of the proposed road and the easterly sideline of Locust Field Road. Your subdivision regulations require a 20-foot rounding, 25-foot rounding. One of the reasons we don't want to do that is if we touch or alter or divide any portion of this Lawrence Lynch Realty Corp land, we have to go to the Cape Cod Commission, and we don't want to go to the Cape Cod Commission. So obviously, because this is there's a public benefit for this because if we construct the road, the town gets to use this road for whatever services they want on the two lots, 4 and 5. So then what happens is you have a regulation that says that for the first, if a road abuts someone else's land for the first 200 feet, it's supposed to be 60 foot wide, and then the pavement is supposed to be shifted over. We've asked you to waiver that because this pavement already exists, and the reason for that is to allow a better buffer for, on the property line that is being shared. And so we don't need that because this paved road already exists. Then what we asked you for was to waive the sidewalk construction. Your subdivision regulations require that there be a paved sidewalk here. Well, this is going to be, it serves the solar farm. And so in the past, you've generally waived the sidewalk construction consistently. We asked you to waive the water main construction because we don't know if and when it would ever be used. So we've agreed to bring a stub to a certain point, but we're asking you to waive everything else. On the original plan that was approved by when you approve the solar panel, when you scale it, it has consistent kind of shoulders that we've always done. So what we've asked you is to waive the shoulder width, the width shown on my plan, which I think is 5 feet. We also ask that you approve loaming and seeding for the across the entire width that's not either pavement or sidewalk. And we ask you to waive street lights, and we also ask you to waive underground utilities. I know these are not, some of these are not common waivers, but when you look at this, for at least some time, this is going to be used as access to a solar farm. I think you agree that we don't need those things. So to justify it, the proposed road construction follows the agreed route. The shoulder width is on your typical cross section is 11, and this is in conflict with the written words that require a 4-foot wide shoulder. You have existing written words that vary. There are existing written words in the subdivision regulation that vary with a typical cross section. So we're asking you, that's a justification to waive that. And then there is in the past, do you want the land surveyor to show on his plan a concrete monument at every corner? And I've always resisted that because there's a court case that said that if I put on the plan a concrete monument with drill hole to be set, if somebody else sets it, the courts assume that since I put it on there, that I've set it. So, I mean, part of the covenant should be that monuments be set at all of the corners in accordance with the regulation. And then, for some reason, you've always asked for Travis tables, and I've never given people Travis tables any town because the bottom line is what we'd be doing is giving away our economic advantage of investing, almost $100,000 in computer systems and giving away the coordinates free. It seems like you're the only town I know that asks for Travis tables, and I've never ever submitted Travis tables in the past. So I asked the planning board to approve this project, and I think the waivers are absolutely consistent. I think I've told you that I prepared, well, I've been doing this since November 1st, 1970. I've designed over 40 subdivisions and over 21 miles of road. I'm surprised I had to ask for these waivers because the cross section and the plan have been prepared to the standards that I've been using for a very long time. So I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have concerning the road construction or the waiver condition.
Thank you, Mike. I see there are 3 chats. Tom, do any of them apply? to this project?
I beat Viv before she got her sign up. No. That was Mr. Ayers and I chatting elsewhere. So we have had a couple discussions about the waivers. Michaela has taken the time to prepare a draft decision with those waivers on them, because historically we would go through and vote those waivers. So I don't think we really had any issue with the waivers. The radius, we're bringing the water pipe to stub to the property or off the street. So we've got the water line stud there. I think for the most part, as Mike has pointed out, those things that we're doing are fine. So I don't believe we're going to have any issues with those waivers. And at this point, from the staff's perspective, we're pretty comfortable with where we're at with developing a recommendation for the board, however that might be. Mr. Drewley does have a question, however.
I was going to ask if any board member has a question or comment. John, you have a comment or a question?
Yes, thank you. Mike, could you address the waiver for the underground utilities? How is the electricity for the solar field going to exit the property?
I know it doesn't go out through this area. It escapes me at the moment where that is.
If I may.
Tom?
I can handle that one for you if you like, Mr. Drewley. The Borrego solar operation is entirely independent from this, with the exception of the access road. Everything else for Borrego, the panels, all their infrastructure is wholly on their site. The only thing that is associated with the Borrego solar is this entry access. And at the recommendation of the DPW director, this drainage for our property, for the town's property, will be on Borrego's site. So that's the only sort of cross-pollination we've got there. Our drainage is on their site, their access is on our site. Everything else that's associated with either of these projects are independent on their own parcels.
So then I'll ask you, Tom, how does the electricity from the solar field exit the site if it doesn't come this way?
Part of the whole solar operation is they have to have an interconnection agreement with the utility. And so they have worked through that interconnection agreement, and that will come largely off the back of the site, leaving through the power easements and things like that. There's a power easement that comes through the property. So all that stuff is leaving from the backside of the site.
Okay, is there currently any overhead poles or electricity on the site?
Could you
On our
show
site,
the subdivision plan, and I'll show you there is a power line easement that runs through the site.
Are there any poles?
I don't believe there are.
Oh,
Oh,
this.
apologize.
I'm
You
sorry.
said the subdivision plan.
Yeah, this is abandoned, but they're further over to the east on the remaining land that's not part of the subdivision. There is a power line. So there's
Okay,
none on lot 1, on lot 3 and 4.
Okay, thank you.
Jim?
Yeah, very similar question. Since you are now not going to put utilities in the ground on the site, on the plan we're looking at, do you have any utilities going there, and where would they be? We're giving a waiver so you don't have to have utilities underground. That means you're going to put them on poles on this site, or why do you need the waiver if you're not putting utilities in?
Well, the first thing is Borrego will be generating their own electricity. So, and as far as I know, there's very minimal labor involved with this. It's occasional visits. So, to me, I'm not sure they need utilities. So I'm trying to be blunt.
Well, if they don't need them, you don't need a waiver for them. I just didn't know where you were planning to put them if you had to put them. I thought we should show them if you're going to do it.
Yeah,
Like where you're going to put poles.
Tom? Tom?
This is essentially a subdivision plan for a driveway. And because we're doing a subdivision plan and all those things are in our subdivision regulations, we have to give waivers for them because we're essentially building the driveway. So
But if we're not putting utilities in, why do we need a waiver?
because they're required to put them in because it's a subdivision plan. So those things we would typically have in a subdivision that the applicant's not putting in because all we're doing is creating a driveway. We have to waive those.
So we could waive the utilities and not give them the right to put them in the air. That's all. I'm just afraid they could put telephone poles down the road because we've already given a waiver. It doesn't, if they don't need it, they shouldn't get it.
It's the town of Falmouth's property. Any additional development that goes on the property following this driveway is in the town of Falmouth's hands.
Okay, so they're not putting any utilities in. Okay, that's the answer. Thank you.
That's correct.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions or comments? Okay, I've got one because I know I brought it up and I think there were a couple of other people concerned, is that there is a temporary turnaround. And we wanted to know when that temporary turnaround would disappear.
Could I speak to that? The subdivision
Yes.
control law allows the temporary turnaround, and what the subdivision control law says, if the road is extended, then the temporary turnaround can cease. But it seems to me that you'll have to, if the road is ever extended any distance, you would have to vote to as part of the approval of the extension to abandon the temporary turnaround. So I hope I've been clear, but the way that I look at it is someday this road's going to be extended because of the potential for the town to develop lot 4 and 5, and I thought it was appropriate to label it temporary.
Okay. Anybody else have any comments, questions?
That,
Yes, Paul. Paul?
yeah,
Okay,
the light come on. Hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
I think this project is a benefit both to town and Borrego Solar, particularly with respect to the right of way. This is an industrial facility, not a housing development, and I'm comfortable with the waivers.
Thank you, Paul. Anybody else? Okay, then I would need a motion to take this definitive plan for Borrego Solar under advisement. And we would then look towards Michaela's decision that she has begun to prepare at our August 11th meeting, I believe.
So if I may,
Is
Madam
that
Chair,
correct?
if I may?
Yes.
So I thought I heard you say you
Yes,
wanted a
Tom.
motion to close the public hearing and advise the staff to produce a favorable recommendation for the subdivision?
It sounds like that's what the board wants, yes.
Very well.
So if I could have a motion and a second, then we can have any discussion on that and vote.
So move.
Okay, is there a second?
Second,
It's been moved and seconded that we close the hearing on Borrego Solar, take it under advisement, and have Michaela complete a positive recommendation that we will see on the August 11th meeting, I believe.
And we're gonna
Is
have a
that
nice.
correct, Tom? We will bring it up.
Yes, ma'am. And I just wanted to make sure we got a
Pardon?
roll. I just wanted to make sure we got a roll call vote on that as we try to do.
Yeah, we have to get a roll call.
Please. Thank you.
I just repeated it so everybody would understand it. So may I have a roll call vote, please? Jim,
I, Jim Fox.
Charlotte? I heard Bob. Charlotte? Uh-oh.
Hold up your sign, Bob.
yeah.
Aye.
Okay. John,
Aye.
Pam,
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so it's 7 out of 7. Thank you all.
See, this gets easier every time we do it. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Mike.
Thank you, Michael.
Okay, so Mike and Ed Kirk can disappear now, Thomas. Next on the agenda, applicant is Woods Hole Partners LLC, definitive plan application to create a 4-lot subdivision with 445 linear foot roadway located at 533, 539 Woods Hole Road, Cape and Islands Engineering. There has been a continuance requested to August 25th, 2020. I would like to thank the responsiveness of the applicant to the planning department comments. And it is by mutual consent that this is going to be continued to August 25th, but I need to have a motion to that effect.
So move. Second.
Is there a second, please? Charlotte,
Second.
did you second it? Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we continue the Woods Hole Partners LLC to August 25th. Are there any comments? All in favor? And again, let's go. Jim,
I abstain.
you abstain. Charlotte,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
Pam, I see
Aye.
aye. Paul, John,
Aye.
and I. Okay, thank you all. Tom gave us a thumbs up. Okay, public discussion. The applicant is Raymond Dinardo. Site plan review application to construct an attached accessory apartment located at 9 Hitching Post Lane. VSS design. As you will remember, we have seen this before and we talked with Mr. Dinardo and said we'd like to see a few things different. Is Mr. Dinardo here tonight? Yes, he is. May we elevate him?
Mr. Dinardo, if you would turn on your video, and I believe that Michaela has the plans and she'll be sharing the screen.
Okay, and we need your sound also, Mr. Dinardo. And does everybody have the information in front of them?
Good afternoon.
Has everybody on the board had any and all time to review the changes that Mr. Dinardo has made to the plan?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
And you can see the plan in front of us. And is this, yes, this is the changed plan. Does anybody have any questions or comments that they wish to, what? I know, but if you wish to comment now, Mr. Dinardo, we'd be happy to hear you.
Thank you. I took into consideration all the comments from the planning board, and I think I've accomplished them. So I'll be happy to go through them if you have any questions.
And that's what I was headed for. Okay, Charlotte?
I did have an opportunity to go through them, and it looks to me as if Mr. Dinardo has, in fact, responded positively to our suggestions and comments, with maybe the exception of what Jim had to say, and that the staff now says that this is in compliance. So it looks good. Thank you, Mr. Dinardo.
Thank you.
Anybody else on the board who has comments? Yes, Bob.
The engineering report, they seem to have met all of those with the exception of a few of the conditions. I suggest that we honor those requests from the engineering referral. They're minor things. That the construction of this project shall follow the attached soil erosion and sediment control standards. That the applicant comply with the work as approved by the engineering division in the driveway permit. So they're requesting driveway permit. The other one is about the house address. So I just wanted to make sure those are part of the decision that we render. Those are conditions as part of the decision.
Okay. Anybody else?
Yeah, I have a question.
Jim, I hear you. Paul,
Yeah.
were you first?
Yes, I have a comment.
Okay.
Yeah, I visited the site today and looked at the plans and so forth. And in addition to what Bob had mentioned about the engineering report, I think it's a good location for this project. I think it's well done.
Thank you.
Pat?
I know. I've got a bad internet.
Pat?
I was just telling Tom I have a bad internet connection, just like I do at home.
Oh, great.
Okay, Pam, I think you wanted to say something, yes?
Yeah, since I was so adamantly opposed to the layout, the changes are terrific. I really appreciate your taking the time to make those adjustments to the plan. And I think it now serves exactly what we wanted in town. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you. I think it does make an improvement, so I appreciate it.
Bob?
I think it was exceptionally helpful that he sent us pictures of the other houses in the neighborhood because it does fit with the character of the neighborhood. So that was very helpful.
Yeah, I thought as well. Also, Bob, is there anyone else on the board who wishes to make any comments?
Yes, I've been trying to make a comment.
Jim, picture wasn't up there, so what is it?
Okay, do we have a proposed elevation or a rendering of what this is going to look like?
Yes, we do. The elevations are indicated by Tom Bunker of BSS.
Could we show it on the screen?
I think the elevations are shown on the plot plan.
I'm just wondering if we could show the public what we're talking about.
It's Michaela's screen. Maybe Michaela could do that.
Basically, the
No
lot,
attention to the man behind the curtain, but we're working on that for you. So give us a moment.
basically the lot is flat, and the house and the addition is going to be on an equal level with the garage slightly lowered.
I would just like to see an elevation and a rendering of what it looks like from the street. I don't want to do a approval of a building we don't look at.
Okay, well, you know, we do have those sent in, Jim, and you know, we can make them available.
Okay, well, there they are.
Why can't we show that now and talk about it? Because that's not changed. That's
Right.
the same one.
Well, I'm not sure I'm understanding. The building hasn't changed. The only thing is
Right.
It doesn't match the site plan we just saw. There's a driveway in a different place.
Yes, the driveway is in a modified area. The driveway has been changed.
So do you
We
have
don't
a,
have anything that shows that, except on a plan level, but not on the, I'm trying to get a look if I was standing in the front of the street, what we're approving something and what it's going to look like. And you're not telling us or showing us.
Ready,
Well,
if I may.
Jim, I don't have a problem because it's on the plan that we just saw on the screen. Yes, Tom?
If I may, I don't know that we have those readily available, but if the board would like to have those as part of the decision, and the board's comfortable enough making a motion for us to prepare a positive motion, I will have them for the next meeting for you.
Is the board, yes, Charlotte?
Certainly, I'm comfortable enough to do that, and I hope that that's what we do. I hate to put the Dinardos to the expense of making a new rendering when it seems that the plan is telling us what we need to know and that he has complied with our requirements. So it would be expensive to do a new rendering to move a driveway. I'd like to go forward to the decision.
I feel the same way you do, Charlotte, because we had all of that before. The major difference is now we've got what kinds of plants are going to be there, which we requested. And we've got the narrowing of the driveway, and he curved it off to the side so that it doesn't look like a parking lot, which was
Yeah.
one of our asks. And I am really pleased with Mr. Dinardo's responsiveness to the board. Are there any other comments from the board?
I just have a question.
Yes, Pam.
So on the plot, on the site plan, it looks like what would be a car in what it says proposed garage slab, and then another car behind that. And then you have the piece going off to the right, which looks like there could be 4 cars there. One in the
This is
garage.
what we're talking about here?
I'm sorry?
Can we see that? Can that,
You've
Can-
got that, Jim. It's on the regular.
I'm asking the public to see it, not,
Oh.
I understand, this is a public meeting. I think if you see it on the screen, no one else can see it.
Hey, there it is.
Okay, it's on the screen now.
Okay, now talk about it, Pam, I can follow you.
Okay, so the slashed area that says proposed garage slab at elevation 24.7. And then it's got what looks like another car, not in the garage, but in a driveway. And then it's got the driveway that goes off to the right. So it looks to me like there could be 4 cars parked there. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So you'd have 1 car in a garage and 3 cars outside of the garage.
That's correct.
Okay.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Okay, then this being a site plan review, we don't need to close the discussion. I would need a motion, a positive motion that we're pleased that we're looking to have a positive motion at our next meeting on August 11th.
So moved.
Is there a
Second.
second? Okay, it's
Second.
been moved and seconded. And all in favor, except I've got the screen sharing in front, so I have no idea. I only see 3 of us. Okay. Jim,
All right,
Charlotte,
Yes.
Bob,
Aye.
Pam,
Aye.
Paul,
Aye.
John.
Aye.
And I'm in favor of it too. Thank you so much for your responsiveness, Mr. Dinardo, and we will have a decision on August 11th for you.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
You too. Okay, next, the applicant is Jeffrey Bright, site plan review application for a detached accessory apartment located at 32 Walker Street, Warwick and Associates. And Tom, you had a comment, I believe.
Yes, ma'am. We've had a few emails with Mr. Bright and Mr. Ayers, the owner of the property. Talked to Mr. Ayers actually during the meeting, and we have an email from him that says, hello, Tom and the Falmouth Planning Board. At this time, we would like to withdraw our application for the accessory apartment at 32 Walker Street. We will let you know our plans in the future. Thank you for taking the time to work with us. Regards, Hank Ayers. And with that, I would encourage the board to take Mr. Ayers at his recommendation and accept his withdrawal, and we'll see a new application at some point in the future.
Okay, may I have a motion then to accept the applicant's request to withdraw the application?
So move.
Second.
The moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? Jim,
hi, Jim.
Charlotte,
Aye, Charlotte.
Bob,
Aye.
Pam,
Aye.
Paul, and John, I see your hand up, and I'm
Aye.
in favor of accepting it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
It's too bad.
and okay.
Somebody's got a
Okay, we
radio
have-
on.
Yep, I can hear that too in the background. who's got a radio on in the background or a television?
If it will help the Red Sox win a game, I'm willing to work with them.
Okay, the applicant Paul E. and Valerie B. Murray, site plan review application to construct an attached accessory apartment located at 1 Wagon Trail Road, Holmes and McGrath. And I understand, oh, Mike, because I was told Mr. Murray will present it, but we have Mike McGrath with us again. Thank you, Mike.
Bob, hold up your sign.
Mike, you've got to unmute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you.
My name is Michael McGrath. I work for Holmes McGrath, and accompanying me today, Beatrice Bunker. So the bottom line is that this is an application for an accessory apartment, and I just sent the colored site plan to the planning at falmouthmass.gov. I forgot to read your agenda, and I neglected to see number 4. So in any case, this is a request to construct an addition for at a house that is located in Wagon Trail Road in Falmouth. It's probably appropriate for Beatrice to step up. Yes, there's a color plan.
I'm happy to have her do so.
Yeah, and so what the sites at the intersection of Carrot Chop Road and Wagon Trail Road, there's an existing house, and the proposed work on the exterior is an addition in the rear plus an elevated second story deck and then a set of stairs going down to a landing. There's also a slight modification here on top of basically altered surface with a exterior wash station. So it's probably more appropriate now to go into with the meat of the matter, which is the architectural plan. Could you show us? Yes.
Yeah, my name is Beatrice Bunker. I'm the project architect, and I can briefly guide you through what we're actually doing. You see in front of you the existing condition that is already set up pretty much for an accessory apartment, with the exception that there is currently no kitchenette. The house is 72 feet long, and I gave you all the square footages before, but we have designed the additional, if you could you please go to the next page? Yeah. As you can see, we are adding an addition to the rear of the garage, which on the first floor, which is shown on the left side, is housing a pottery studio that is used by the owner, Valerie Brady. And the pottery studio, I'm not sure if you see the cursor, but it has a separate entrance from the backyard. And the entrance into the accessory unit is where it currently is, also from the back of the existing structure. An existing staircase leads you up to the second floor, and all that space, the sitting room, sleeping area, walk-in closet, a bathroom with laundry, is already all existing. This window is already existing facing the neighbor. And basically what we're adding is a 15'6" by, now I don't quite remember, 9-foot back addition on the second floor containing the kitchen. And to meet the egress code from the building code, we have a second door here leading to a landing and a stair back down. The square footages that we submitted show that the 40% of the existing structure would exceed 800 square feet that are allowed by code. So we designed it to just be slightly under the 800 square feet. despite the fact that the house is much larger. I also submitted the front elevation. I think the board asked to see the front elevation, and I submitted a photograph of the actual building here. This front elevation will not change at all. We will keep both garage bays because they will still be used as garage entrances. And the only modifications that you will see for the whole project is an addition in the rear and the access stair and elevated deck facing on the neighbor side. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer. All the function on the first floor, the pottery studio, is completely part of the main dwelling use, for the main dwelling use.
Okay, Jim?
I
Jim?
think this is a really great design. It definitely keeps the architectural effect of a single family home at heart, I think, and the balance of the square footage by adding some more space to make it work. Obviously, the applicant had money to spend on design and engineering, and I think they did a really good job. I don't think it matters, but where's the two means of egress? I know you're going to have a stairwell on the side, coming to a platform, but where's the other door to get into the place? Is it the back?
It's in the back, yeah, and it's already
Okay, I'm
there.
fine.
The staircase.
I just didn't see a front door. Okay, that's what I thought. I'm good with it. It's great.
Yep.
Anybody else have any questions?
Yep.
Yes, Charlotte?
I don't have a question, I have a comment. Aside from it taking me a little while to figure out that back entrance, how that staircase worked, I think it's a good design, and it certainly fits all of our requirements. Well done.
Bob?
Yeah, I just wanted to address the letter that we got and ask the question. On the back, it shows a large deck on the, I believe it's the southeast corner of the building. Is that existing?
Yes, we're not changing anything on the main dwelling.
Yes, but does that deck exist now?
Oh, yeah, yep. It's
Okay.
on the existing condition, on the drawings.
Yes.
Okay, because from the letter, I got the.
Bob, they were talking about the deck on the side that's being added for the stairwell. They thought it projected out too far, but it fits within the setbacks perfectly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a by right application.
Right. Okay, I'm just trying to
You don't get the comment about a deck that's by right, 10-foot setbacks, lot coverage ratios.
Right,
This
I
whole thing
understand
is a
that.
by right deal.
Hang on. I just didn't know which deck they were talking about, and that's what I wanted to clarify. I wasn't
No,
sure.
I was addressing the letter, not
Yeah.
you. The letter was
Okay.
complaining.
Whoa, Jim.
Right.
Jim.
Right. So they have a complaint about the deck, and I was just wondering, it complies with everything. I'm just wondering, in the name of being a good neighbor, if there could be some screening, a high wall on that deck, either some lattice work or some sort of screening, so that the neighbors don't feel that there's a watchtower over their backyard. Just in the manner of, the old adage that good fences make good neighbors, maybe a good screen on the deck would make for a good neighbor, because they do have the right to put it there, and I don't see anywhere else that they could put a second means of egress. And like we've all said, it's a good design and setbacks, and the building commissioner would have no problem with allowing this. But I just thought, as a matter of keeping peace in the neighborhood, that we might be able to address that.
If I might answer that a little bit.
Yes.
This stair and this deck is really purely to meet the building code. We already have a triple window that does overlook that side, and we are not making it any more public, so to speak, by adding that deck. It's not a deck that it's a very, very small deck, really. That's just going to be safe enough to get up, maybe drop a few bags when you go grocery shopping if you do go up that way. But it's not a deck that would be of a size to accommodate a dining room table or anything else. So this deck is simply an access landing with a door. So the neighbor, Mr. Murray and Mrs. Brady would be happy to plant something along the property line, but I don't think we would like to add trellises or screening because that is the light, and you do want to, you know, have a little bit of don't feel enclosed when you get actually up there.
Well, I just wanted to make it public that we address the issue.
Yep.
Pat?
Yeah. Pam, is that you?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Did you say that the deck was 9 by 16?
You know what? Let me look
Well,
on
that
my
was the kitchen.
drawing. No, the deck is only 6'3" wide, and the stair itself is 3'9" to accommodate the clearances we need by code. And then we widen it a little bit to make it 6'3"
By what?
by the 10.
6
And
foot
that is
3?
really for architectural reasons and you can see that on the elevation below, to also cover the door that goes into the pottery studio on the first floor, so that she has a little some covered entry where she's going in and gets delivery.
So just a question, have you spoken to your neighbor at all? Has the owner spoken to the neighbor?
They have. I don't know if they have talked about land. I know that Mr. Murray talked with them about some landscaping. I haven't heard of any issues that we would need to do any additional screening. I don't think it's we meet all the setbacks, and so this is more of an aesthetic question, or that I don't.
Well, it sounded more like a privacy question, and clearly they have the right to do it. But I agree with Bob that if there can be some resolution so that everyone's happy, I always think that's a good way to go.
So
Okay.
if I
I can't answer that. I mean, we have a 3-foot railing and the door, and the rest of it is already existing.
so if I may, Madam Chair, at some point,
Yes, Tom, I know. You need to read the letter, and I think the people who wrote the letter are in attendance. Is that correct?
that's correct. They're in the chat. So
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure that for the record, we got that in, because that's the particular difficulty with the Zoom meetings, is having that, that input from folks who aren't the presenters under the rules of engagement for Zoom. So I just want to make sure that, we have the letter and the chat information for the board before we get too far down the pike. I just want to make sure that didn't get away from us. So sorry to.
Mhm. Right. Are you going to read the letter, or how do you want to do this, Tom?
I'm quite ready if you'd like me to do that. All right. So
I would like you to do that.
thank you. To the Falmouth Planning Board, Falmouth Planning Board virtual Zoom meeting, July 28, 2002 at 6:30 p.m. Applicant Paul E. and Valerie B. Murray, site plan review application to construct an attached accessory apartment located at 1 Wagon Trail Road, Holmes and McGrath. Applicant. Dear members of the Falmouth Planning Board, we are Joseph H. and Lorraine M. D. Cristofaro. We are the trustees / owners of the property adjacent to the applicants. Our East Falmouth address is 47 Simmons Road. Our primary and mailing address is Canton, Mass. Is below. We've enjoyed owning this home in Falmouth for 33 years. We intend to attend the Planning Board Zoom meeting on Tuesday, 7/28/20. However, we are contacting you in advance to advise you that we oppose a portion of the plans for the applicant's reference proposed accessory apartment. Our opposition is to the second floor level deck, second floor level deck, the deck at the top of the exterior stairway. We believe that this deck is much too large for this location and would loom right over our backyard and up against our mutual property line. Are the proposed additions in conformity with the side lot zoning requirements? Question. We do not oppose the overall project. We expect that the first floor planned modification will always be for the owner's personal hobby and there is never will be a commercial enterprise there causing an increased volume in traffic and business-related activity. As to the proposed second floor accessory apartment, we trust that the owners / landlord will always be bound by the appropriate rules and limitations set by the town of Falmouth for a rental apartment of this size, as well as the related stipulations in the application. As to the proposed deck proximity / view, kindly see the 4 photos we have forward above. They are current internal and external looking at from the rear, the inside of and outside of our house towards the applicant's garage side where the additions are proposed. It is fairly tight and close out there. The applicants have indicated they will extend their stockade fence sufficiently from the rear side down towards the street in line with their garage. That would be very helpful to improve the first level aesthetics and views. However, the proposed deck at the top of the stairway would loom over towards our yard / deck / home. We understand the proposed apartment requires an egress and stairway as such. However, we would prefer for our continued privacy on our deck and in our backyard that there not be a deck up at that level. Naturally, a sufficient small landing to step from the stairway onto the doorway would be suitable. In fact, we suggest that the proposed stairway should descend from the driveway area up to the exterior door as opposed to from the rear of the building. We believe this will look better, limit the impact of stairway traffic / activity, and be more direct access for their occupants to and from the driveway. Again, we have owned and enjoyed the property on our, we have owned and enjoyed the privacy of our property for a long time. We purposely chose our location for its lack of congestion. Thank you for considering our objections and input. We look forward to a mutually positive discussion. Kindly contact us on our cell below if you need us in the meantime. Sincerely, Joe and Lorraine DiCristofaro. And apologies to the Cristofaros if I messed up your pronunciation of your name. I have a couple pictures they've asked me to show. I'm going to screen share those in just a couple of moments. The DiCristofaros in the chat have said we disagree from the comments previously. It is a sitting deck. Make it just a landing. We have spoken and they agreed that, it says we have spoken and they agreed there may be some considerations and they could make the deck smaller. So says the DiCristofanos, Joe DC in the chat. So I'm going to share my screen now and show you these 4 images that the DiCristofaros have sent with us. So bear with me. Are we seeing pictures of a deck? I can't quite tell what I'm showing on my screen.
No,
All right,
you've got something else that you don't want to have up there.
That's fine. I got plenty of stuff on my computer most days, so hang on just a second. Give me just a second, please. There you go. How's that?
There you go.
All right, thank you.
That's from the abutter, correct?
Yes, these are the pictures that
Correct.
the DiCristofaros have provided. So here's picture 1.
I assume that's from the interior of their home?
And it's from the interior of their home, yes.
It is.
Here is a second shot from the interior of their home. Here is a third shot from their deck. And one more picture, please. And that is from their screened-in area.
And this deck is going to be where those windows are now?
It's gonna be past the window to a new door to the
To
left.
the left?
Sorry, let me get.
It'll be above the box.
Yeah, will be basically to the left of the umbrella on that picture.
So essentially,
And the door location is really dictated by building code. I cannot, there are very strict regulations on how far away and from which rooms egress stairs are required. So this is the only location that we can do it. So we will have a landing. I can't turn the staircase to access towards the driveway side because that blocks the door to the pottery studio. So what they are willing to extend the stockade fence to block the door into the pottery studio, but naturally the landing and the door on the second floor will be seen from that deck. But again, it's not a sitting, it's not an entertaining deck. It's basically a landing with a little bit of extra room for when you go up there with groceries and whatnot. It may possibly also help the neighbors to know that the occupant of the accessory unit is their daughter who already lives there.
So question for Beatrice, if I may.
Mm-hmm.
So the door is essentially going to be
Yes.
where these new shingles are at?
Yep, there's going to be a little bit of wall space and then the door. And then yep.
So the only place for the door is there, and the length of the deck is essentially to bring the stairs past those 3 windows to the door. Is that what I understand?
No, the stairs will descend underneath the window. Our deck expands to the driveway side. If you look at the architectural drawing A3.
I'm gonna stop my screen sharing because I don't have the plans for the Michaela has those, so she can bring up the plans if you would.
Yeah,
Michaela.
it's if you got, I sent them to Michaela. I don't know.
She has them. I just had to get off the computer so she could share it. Two people can't share the screen at the same time.
Sorry, yeah, I'm sharing right now. Just one moment. Sorry about that.
Thank you.
Madam Chairman, somebody's chatting out of order here.
What are you saying, Jim?
I see chat screens coming up, comments from the audience, like they're not recognized, but they're talking to us. They're out of order.
No, Jim, it's the neighbor that we're talking about their comments right now.
Oh, why don't we recognize them and listen to what they have to say instead of let them just butt in whenever they want?
And yes, would you please show the drawing number A3, not existing 3? It's under architectural proposed. Yeah. Then oh. No, it's under architectural. These are all the square foot calculations.
Madam Chair? Pat?
Yes, Charlotte.
I wonder.
Charlotte, yes.
Yes, how much room is there between the end of the garage building and the lot line they share with the neighbors? Because the deck takes up 6 feet of it. So from the wall of the garage to the lot line has to be.
They have 10
I
feet.
looked at that, I think it's something like 10 feet.
It must be more than 10 feet if they can put a deck in there and still meet the setback requirement.
Oh yeah, no, we do meet it from the deck, from the far outest point. And then the lot line is at a skewed angle. It's not parallel to the building.
So it has to be 10 feet beyond the edge of the deck, right?
That's correct. Oh yeah.
Right. So what I'd like to observe is that there's room for a walkway for a person to walk past the deck and around and get to the stairs and still have at least 7 feet that could easily be planted with tall growing shrubs like arborvitae, cypress that you keep trimmed, and that would be a softer, actually better looking screen. You know, you could solve it with planting. I see the problem. And
Charlotte, you mean rather than a fence?
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
Okay, does anybody else have any, Pam?
No, I like the
Pam.
idea of the shrub, like a fast-growing arborvitae
Mhm.
going up there to blunt that. Because 7 feet, even 10 feet, is a very minimal amount of space. And yes, that's what the zoning says, but if your deck, and you can say it's not a sitting deck or it's not an entertaining deck, but it's large enough to have a couple of chairs and a small table out there. So it could in fact be what
Oh, door.
may
Couldn't
never
get in
be,
the door.
but what did you say, Bob?
You couldn't get in the door if you have anything on that deck.
Right,
You know, I've done these before.
Right.
My brother's house, we did the exact same thing as this. And to be honest with you, no one ever used that.
It's 10.
It was done more for code than anything else.
Well, but the people who are there have a right to use it as they wish, and it will
Yeah.
have traffic on it. But I think you could create the privacy that the neighbors very reasonably want to have by agreeing to plant some things that are going to grow to be much taller than a stockade fence.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
And much nicer looking as well.
I
Right.
agree with you. And the deck is 6 feet by 9 feet, and there really isn't, as Bob pointed out, enough room to do anything there with the door there.
Right. No, it's
Okay, Jim?
I like the landscaping approach. I live in a second floor apartment with one of these decks. It's how I get in and out all the time. And you need a little bit of, when you're on the second floor, you just need a little space to get in your door. And it's a by right. They can do it right now. I think a landscaping requirement is an excellent solution. I used Leland cypress when I built mine 10 years ago, and I wish I didn't because they're huge.
Well,
But
and
I
you have
think-
to keep shearing them.
Arborvitae is a great idea.
Yeah.
Are there any further comments? And
John,
yes, John. John?
Yes, I think that there's already 3 windows existing on that side of the house that can look over the neighbor's yard or their deck or anything else. And this is just the second means of egress. And if they want to do some plantings, I think that's fine, but I'm not in support of making it a condition. I think this is a wonderful use of the property. It's exactly what we want with an accessory apartment. Currently, the person that's going to be using it is their daughter. I mean, I think it's just being taken a little bit out of proportion here. But I like the idea of it, but I don't want to make it a condition that they do planting.
I think it should be, I just think it should be an agreement between the two, however they come to terms about it.
Whether it be a fence or the plantings, Pam, is what you're talking about.
I mean, I think they should be the ones to make the determination. This really is not our
No, it's not.
purview to do because it's by right. But it would be nice if they came to some agreement.
Charlotte?
I agree with John and with Pam, and particularly with Jim. It's a by right thing. It didn't occur to me that it would be a condition. It's just trying to respond to the neighbor's reasonable concern. What I would like to do is move that we ask Michaela to draft up a favorable decision.
Well, before we do that, Charlotte, I need to ask Tom, are there any other comments that we should know about from the neighbors that have come in?
Tom, you're on mute.
Tom, you're muted.
No, ma'am, nothing particular to the project. It was a question about, well, the daughter lives there. What if the daughter moves out? Well, the accessory apartment is not an in-law apartment. There's not a requirement
No.
for a relative to live there. There is a
Exact-
requirement that the property owner lives there, but not that the occupant of the accessory apartment is a relative. It can be anybody who lives in that. So,
Mhm.
no other
Okay.
chat other than
Paul? Paul?
Yes. I visited the site and with the exception of the stairway on the right-hand side, most of the construction is in the back and there's plenty of room back there for the architectural plans are all done. So if they can work out the landing, I think it's a very good project.
Okay. And because this is site plan review, again, we don't close it. I would entertain Charlotte's motion at this point. Charlotte,
I move that we request Michaela to draft a favorable decision for us for our next meeting.
is there a
Second,
second to that?
second,
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye, Fox.
Hi, John.
Yes, aye.
Okay, so all of us are in favor. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Nicely done.
Good job.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, we go to planning board discussion, and we have a request from Cape Club Estates, and Tom is going to speak to that.
Yes, ma'am. If Michaela, if you could bring up I think the board has the site map there.
Yes.
So essentially, the folks at Cape Estates have had lots released previously, and they would like to swap 2 of the lots that have not been released for 2 that have been. So it's a straight up even swap, as we call it here at the planning board. So the only issue that we would have is to make sure that the language in the surety reflects that those are the lots that are covered with that. So I've had a few conversations with the folks at Avalon, with Kelly, about that. So I think it's perfectly proper for the folks that swap those 2 out. There you can see the 2 that they would like to have released and the 2 that they would like to put back on hold. On a related note, we did meet out at the site last week and had extensive conversations about what they're going to be doing with the road and some of the deficiencies in the road. That's a discussion for another day. But it's a straight up swap. I don't have an issue with it. I don't know that the board would either, provided we have the surety that reflects for those the proper numbered lots. And if you want to make a motion to such, we'll start the wheels in progress.
Well, Tom, there is a covenant that would have to be modified. How would that be done?
Correct. So I believe in your packet, you will see the lot release that essentially says we want to release, what is it, 17 and 18 and give back 1 and 2. So scroll down one more if you would, Michaela.
It's on the screen now.
That's my markup. I think we got one more.
Right.
So essentially that lot release is going to show we're putting 2 back in and taking 2 out.
Mm-hmm.
Even swap.
Okay, but how is that covenant change? Because it's been filed.
Yeah.
How
So
is that covenant change accomplished?
so there'd be a second covenant that says we're releasing 18 and 28 from the covenant and putting 1 and 2 back into the covenant.
Okay,
So it would be, a second covenant, and at some point there'll be a third covenant that says we're releasing more, or we're taking more back. But that is the cleanest way to do it. And like I said, the only concern I have is to make sure that the surety document reflects the lot numbers that are in that. And Kelly is working on that as well.
all right. When would we see this again, Tom?
If the board votes it tonight, you won't. We would handle the paperwork here and we'd sign off on it and have the covenant recorded.
So it would be administrative.
Correct.
Bob,
Would you like me to make the motion?
please.
Okay, move that the board authorize a change to the covenant dated August 29th, 2019, placing lot 1 and 2 under the covenant and releasing lots 18 and 28 upon receipt of revised surety agreement for the subject lots.
Second,
Is there any further discussion of this?
I have a question.
Yes, Paul.
Why not just release the 2 lots? Why would we swap them?
Because that's what they asked for. We only have surety for half the lots. So we're keeping the same number of lots under agreement, same number of lots under the covenant.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, is there any further discussion on this motion? Then all in favor, and I should see a show of hands again on this one. So Paul?
Aye.
Okay, well, I don't have a full screen, so we would just go aye.
Aye.
Paul,
Aye.
okay, here we go with a full screen.
Aye.
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 Okay, John
Aye.
and I, so 7 out of 7. Thank you. Okay, Paul, as you know, is our representative on the Transportation Committee. And his term expired on the 30th of June. But it's been determined now, the committee just met, that the terms are continuing. I think it would be nice if we just affirmed that we really do like Paul to continue on this committee.
So
everybody-
moved.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Can I
Okay,
make a comment, please?
of course you can make a comment, Paul.
The town manager said it's not necessary to have a vote of this. If for affirmation is probably fine. But I'd like to widen this a little bit. I'm also the planning board representative to the Coastal Resiliency Committee. And technically my term expired on 5/15/30.
Oh.
The selectmen have extended that to the end of October. So I suggest if you're going to do an affirmation, you include both activities.
Great, thank you, Paul. Is everybody in favor of that?
So moved.
Okay. Let's see, Jim?
Yeah, what do we clap?
Yeah, Charlotte?
Yes.
He said an affirmation. I wanted to know what we need to do.
Bob, you're in favor, right?
Yes, I
Pam?
am.
Yep.
And, well, Paul has to abstain from it, and John?
Aye.
And I'm, he took another vote, and I'm in favor of it too. Thank you so much for your service, Paul. Okay, still continuing under planning board discussion. We have 63 North Falmouth Highway 40B, and this is a referral to the ZBA. I think we've all been out to see it. I know Paul and I have, because we were
I've
out
been
there yesterday with Tom.
Right down the street from me.
Yep. So, any kinds of comments on this, please? You saw Tom's original letter to Mr. Busby was included in our packet. Michael Busby. And I think you all have that. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not sure that anything has changed to make the referral. I'm speaking for myself, to make the referral any different than what was sent to Mr. Busby.
I think you're right.
And I think that could stand to be sent to the ZBA too. And there may be additional comments we wish to make.
I don't, I haven't got it in front of me right now. I forget where I put it. So I certainly can't comment on the Busby letter, but having gone out there and seeing that where it's located on that section of Route 28A, and that there's going to be 12 units on small parcel of land, possibility of 24 vehicles. And I realize it's a 40B. We really don't have a lot to say. That if this was a subdivision, I'd require the road to be 20 foot wide and paved. But this is considered a driveway, I guess, because it's not more than 500 feet long. I just think it's way too dense for that location. I think when you look at 24 vehicles possibly coming out of there every day, and that's a fast road. There are people along that road that have put their own signs up, please drive slowly or slow down. That so people have an issue with people entering and going on to that road. And also it took me a couple times just to land on that driveway where we met, because I had someone on my tail and I wasn't really sure where I was going to be pulling over. So I had to pull up to the rotary again just to turn around, because I didn't want somebody rear-ended me. So I just think it's way too dense for that piece of property.
And I think a dangerous access point too, for that many people added in.
Terrible.
Perhaps,
Terrible.
since not everybody has the letter in front, and of course, our viewers don't know it, perhaps I should read the letter that originally went out to Mass Housing.
Yes.
Okay. It's regarding a site approval letter for Wings Pond 40B impacting state certified vernal pool. Dear Mike, I am requesting that Mass Housing take the unusual step of not issuing a site approval letter for Wing Pond 40B. It is the fourth in a series of small parcel 40Bs in the North Falmouth area. This particular site is impacted by a state certified vernal pool on the property immediately to the north, owned by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. The existing house on the property is accessed by a common driveway from the abutting property at 53 North Falmouth Highway, as the entirety of the property slopes toward the protected area of the certified vernal pool. It has been confirmed by the Conservation Commission and the applicant's surveyor to be a certified vernal pool. LEC Environmental in May 2019 also confirmed that it maintains certified vernal pool. The proposed roadway, several of the units, and the septic system all are within the state certified 100-foot buffer for the vernal pool. As such, it is not local regulation that limits development on this property, but rather the state's regulations, as well as the Commonwealth's investment in preserving natural resources in immediate area. This is not an appropriate site due to these constraints, and we request that Mass Housing, nor any subsidizing agency, issue a PEL based on the physical characteristics of the site. We have a plethora of 40Bs already being vetted in this particular area of the town, which is not an area identified, nor are they the type of unit identified in the approved Falmouth Housing Production Plan. Given the state regulations and the development plan showing the entranceway, septic system, and multiple units within the state's buffer, moving forward does not make much sense for the applicant or the town. Well, at this point, the Board of Selectmen didn't have an opportunity to take up the letter. And Tom also attached a map from the town of Falmouth GIS that better illustrates the issues with the site. Is there anybody else who wishes to make comments? I think Bob's comments should be incorporated to the
Yes.
ZBA. And Pam, you have something.
Well, I live pretty close to that proposed subdivision. That roadway, when you talk about people speeding, people speed. I mean, it's very fast. Somebody coming in or out of there. And as Bob said, with the possibility of 24 egress, ingress, it's kind of horrifying, as well as the vernal pool. That area is really very lovely there, but there shouldn't be all those homes there. It's just not. And again, in terms of our housing plan, our housing production plan, this in no way meets the criteria of where affordable housing should be. And I just think we're so off the mark with some of these proposals. We get all excited when someone's going to build, and I don't even know how many houses were going to be affordable here. I forgot. But
Only 4 units.
4,
Yeah.
just not where it should be. Just not an appropriate siting.
Jim?
Yeah, I just had a question. We read a letter that was sent to Mass Housing. Who sent it?
Tom did at our request. We had seen this before.
We had seen this letter before?
No, we had seen the site before, and I remember the vernal pool and the numbers of buildings, and we just thought it was not appropriate because
I
of the
just
vernal
thought we would
pool.
approve any letters that the planning board sends to, not
I think-
retroactively, but before.
I think we authorized Tom to send it, as
I wasn't aware. I must have missed that meeting.
could be, I don't know. This was sent January 3rd, 2020, so it was a while ago. Paul?
I had a couple of comments. One is, aside from the vernal pool, which is a state issue, this is very dense. And the idea of putting a septic system that drains to vernal pool doesn't make a lot of sense.
None.
Looking at it, in the back, there's a 4-to-1 slope coming down from the high point in the corner of the lot. But more dangerously, as the road comes in, there's a very high wall at that point. It shows a 1-to-1 slope to undermine the road to the house next door. So it's very steep in that area, and if they were to say the first two houses, they could improve that whole entrance area in terms of flood protection, in terms of drainage to the vernal pool, and just access to the property. But I think 6 units there are just too many for that particular.
12.
It was 6 buildings, Jim. 12 units.
12,
12 units, 6 buildings.
The other thing that I saw when I was out there is it seemed fairly evident that where they are proposing to put the road, they're going to have to cut away a lot. It sure looks like that property was used for cut and fill someplace else. And what you've got there where they're proposing to put the road is where they cut the hillside away to use the land. I don't know, maybe to do 28A at some point. I really don't know, but that's what it looks like. I don't know how they would put a safe road in there. Roadway in or driveway in, whatever you want to call it. There'd have to be an almighty retaining wall there, I'm afraid. And John, you have a comment.
2 comments. In a condominium development, the town considers the travel way to be a driveway. It's never a road, because they don't want to have to plow it, provide rubbish service, or maintain it. And secondly, until this board comes up with a multifamily bylaw that puts this type of housing, workforce housing, affordable housing in the areas that we want it to go into, you're going to have this discussion over and over and over again. That it's beautiful land, heavily traveled way, it's not close to schools. You're going to hear this over and over again. We need to pass a multifamily bylaw, and the sooner the better, and it will really accelerate the town of Falmouth getting to the 10% SHI in areas that the town wants it to be built in.
Thank you, John. So what this is all about is to give the referral to the Zoning Board of Appeals regarding this project. So what I'm gathering is there are too many units. 6 units, 12 units in 6 buildings are too many. I'm not sure what would be okay, but it looks like 4 might fit there reasonably well and be able to almost take it out of the vernal pool. Where they're planning to put the septic system is quite inappropriate. It's going to drain right down into the vernal pond. So with losing, say, 2 units, they may be able to rearrange things. I'm not trying to design it for them, but I think we're finding it a not acceptable 40B for multiple reasons. And I'm trying to delineate for Tom. Yes, Pam.
I just think it's an environmentally sensitive area, and I think we have to be very careful about that. I mean, they're protected for a reason, vernal pools, and maybe there are even fairy shrimp in there for all I know. But this really shouldn't be developed as planned. I don't think it should be developed at all.
Okay. Charlotte, you had a comment.
When it's written up, I'd like to see it emphasize the point that was made about the necessity for the plan that they've given us requires their access or driveway to go almost next to the driveway, much further up the hill, going to the neighbors above them. That's going to be a retaining wall that's going to be more than 14 feet high, and it's going to be right on the edge of a driveway. Picture coming down that driveway if you're the neighbors and the driveway's icy and you slip over that wall. It's creating an enormous danger for the neighbors. If there are fewer buildings and they're further back on the lot, they can put the driveway way over where it more nearly belongs, if it were to be there at all.
Thank you, Charlotte. And Tom, I saw you had question or comment?
I just wanted to get a recap. So I have 2 dens for this location, concern about the access point, the location and width of the driveway and the retaining wall that would be required. To Bob's point, while we have had a number of conversations about the width of a roadway for the fire department, 20 foot is the minimum clearance for the fire department. So I think it's perfectly appropriate for the board to say there should be a minimum 20-foot wide pavement for the driveway. Location not in the HPP, remove the septic system and the units from the vernal pool, and concern about the neighbor's access, especially coming down the hill with the retaining wall immediately adjacent to their property.
Right.
The
You don't want
danger
to
of
forget
that.
about the 24 cars.
Mhm.
I drive that road all the time. It's the way to and from my house. And it is a fast roadway. I'm probably one of the reasons that it is. but there are
Charlotte, I
things-
can attest to that.
Thank you. It's good to
You're
have
welcome.
that
And I think
assurance
that,
here.
as we
The-
talked about before, if they pull both the units and the septic out of the buffer area for the state certified vernal pool, then that gives them an easy fix, an easy visual to say, reduce the number of units by taking these units out of the resource area and move the septic system out of that same area as well. But that's just a suggestion. And Mr. Drewley.
John?
Yes, Tom, could you enlighten me about the state's position on a vernal pool? Because it sounds like they have control over whether it gets built close to it or not close to it. And I just don't know what the concern is with a vernal pool. It's a seasonal body of water, but maybe you can enlighten me on the importance of it.
Yes, well, there are lots of wetlands, and there are variations of wetlands. So if we have a wetland that's a vernal pool, that's a vernal pool to the town, and the town has its requirements, its Conservation Commission requirements for the buffer area that's required around that vernal pool. If you take that vernal pool designation to the next level and have it certified by the state, if the state certifies it's a vernal pool in this habitat, then the state's regulations take place, not just the local regulations. And that creates that 100-foot setback for the state certified vernal pool. And as you know, under 40B, the applicant is allowed to override the local regulation, but they're not allowed to override a state regulation. So in this case, because it's a wetland and a vernal pool and a state certified vernal pool, it has that state mandated 100-foot buffer that says nothing should be in that buffer area around the vernal pool, where they've got both the septic system and a couple of those units.
Okay, thank you very much. That's very helpful.
Okay. Now, the question is, I think time probably is of the essence to get this to the ZBA. Is that correct, Tom?
Yes, Noreen has been very patient with me, but we'll be, and as you know, we've been talking about all the work Michaela is going to be doing, because as you know, I'm going to be away for the next week and a half or so on family medical leave. So we'll do this up with the other things. We'll put this towards the beginning of the list, because the other decisions for the planning board are coming back until the 11th. So that draft, and we always do the same thing. We put the draft together, we share it with the chair to make sure that we said what the board said, to assure that that's what's going on. So this would be a letter that we put out to the ZBA, likely the beginning of next week, because tomorrow is Michaela's last day on the property for the week. And always the day after the planning board meeting, we have lots of things to mop up with who we continue to and who's up with this. So that letter would go to the ZBA. You'd see it likely towards the beginning of like August 3rd.
Okay, can we authorize Michaela to put this together? Do you want to have her share it with the full board? Or can we?
I get nervous if we share something with the full board, because we're starting to comment on that and we're deliberating outside of a meeting.
That's the problem.
So we can share it with the chair. We can share it with another member if we want a second set of eyes on it. But I'm hesitant to say I'd share a draft with the entire board because then we're deliberating outside of the meeting, and that's an open meeting law violation.
I think
Right.
you're right.
Trust Pat.
Pardon?
I trust Pat. We can share it just with the chair.
Okay. Do you want to vote on that so that Tom has that authorization?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 And John, you're what, abstaining or did you vote aye?
Aye.
Okay, so it's full 7 then. Thank you.
And we're gonna have to do something very nice for Michaela, by the way. Very nice. We'll figure it out.
We will.
I mean, I agree with this, by the way.
You just need babysitting services. Just admit it.
Yeah.
That also is true, especially at night at 2 a.m.
Oh, gosh, yes. Okay, we have next on the agenda Cumberland Farms, Inc., 400 East Falmouth Highway and 8 Old Meeting House Road, request for administrative approval, and I believe Mr. Douglas Troyer is here to speak with us.
I am. Can you hear me?
Ah, there you are, yes.
I abstain.
Okay,
Great. It's a pleasure to see everybody. See if I can get the gallery view. There we go. So I've kind of been before you guys, I think since last October is when we originally came before the planning board with our project at 400 East Falmouth Highway and 8 Old Meeting House Road. Since that time, this board granted a site plan approval in December. Subsequent to that, we went before the ZBA and obtained the necessary multiple use permits from the ZBA and the modifications to some of the prior conditions that are on that property. We've also gone before the Board of Selectmen for the underground storage tank license. And I'm actually in front of the Board of Selectmen last evening on sign. We got some kind of promotes what I'm coming back to this board on is when I went for my sign plan application, we found out that we were definitely a little larger than what is allowed and looked too much. As a result, we scaled back those and have filed an application for the selectmen, going back before them on August 10th, hopeful an agreement on how we address those. This is really kind of since we started with the planning board, we have since that time made some minor changes to the plan, nothing significant at all. It's really just kind of relocating the signs, the freestanding signs, actually taking away some signs. Because we're getting really close to the construction plans, we've kind of thrown in additional construction notes and made some tweaks to the curb cuts and some other things due to our appearance before Mass DOT. And also, I don't know, did you bring John Marshland in? He's with me tonight. He's a project engineer.
he's in, yes.
Okay, great. And as a result, I kind of laid out the changes that in my July 15th letter. It's our position that because the requested modifications are not substantial deviation in nature from the record of the exhibits and or the site plan conditions that were set forth in the December site plan approval, we don't need to seek a formal modification of site plan, that this is something under case law that allows you to administratively approve so long as you find that the modifications are not a substantial deviation in nature from the record which we filed. And I can go through all of them, but I primarily labeled them. I'm happy to show you the site plan and kind of go through some of the changes, but I think they're pretty self-explanatory. And we're hopeful that we can get the approval. The reason for the request is that in the site plan decision, any modifications you guys are looking for a review to determine whether or not formal modification is necessary. And given the modifications which we're looking, which deal with adding a stripe loading area, which was required by the ZBA to kind of identify where the loading area is, we needed to stripe it. We've relocated a transformer a little bit to allow for a freestanding sign. We squared off some concrete near a parking space, and I can go through the entire list. But it's our position that these are very minor modifications. They're really field changes. They're really just kind of clarifying the issues from all the other boards on which we've gone before. And because we came before the site planning board first, I wanted to dot my I's and cross my T's and not have any issues and just get the administrative approval that these minor changes are acceptable to the planning board to allow us to proceed to the next step.
Okay. Does anybody on the planning board have any? Yes, Bob.
Yeah, I found these changes to be minuscule, and
Right.
I would be all for an administrative approval on this.
I as well.
Also,
Yeah, I'd
Sure.
like to again mention, Mr. Troyer, you've been very cooperative, and your client has been very accommodating to the planning board, both in the timeliness and making changes that we requested. And I think it's a good project. The modification we're talking about are minor, and I certainly would vote in favor of administrative approval to move this project along.
I
Okay,
appreciate
Jim.
that.
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
And I looked at it and thought they were rather minuscule as well. So we should take a vote to allow administrative approval. May I have a motion to that effect?
I move.
So move.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Split between Jim and Pam. Okay.
Aye.
Tom, you have a comment?
Yeah, I just want to say on behalf of Doug, John, and I, who were all at the selectmen's meeting last night, thank you. We can get home earlier tonight. So thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay.
11:30. We didn't get out there till 11:30 last night, and I had a deposition this morning, and
Whew.
it's a long night.
You want to get out of here fast. Okay, let's take a vote.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
I
I,
Okay, 6 out of the 6. John has abstained.
Right.
Okay, thank
I do
you.
want to say thank you very much. You
Now go
guys
home.
have. It's been a
could
pleasure.
I ask a question now that
Sure.
we've decided?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, when do you think the project will start?
So we're hopeful we'll get through the Board of Selectmen by August 10th. And then basically coming at that point, everything is contingent upon obtaining all the approvals. It appears at this point we have everything we need, just buttoning up the signs. We'll then close on the property, and hopefully in the fall, we'll be able to commence construction. These projects typically take about 4 months from beginning to end. And obviously they're probably looking to do it after the summer months to really get things going. So, and with COVID-19, to be honest with you, I'm not sure where things stand, but I'm assuming this is a project, once get approved, that they would like to try and probably put on their fall schedule. So I'm hoping.
Great, thank you very
I think
much.
this will be a great project for the town, and very proud of it. So thank you all very
Thank
much.
Come on, you've been
Thanks.
terrific.
You as well.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
You
Good night.
too. Okay, next is future agenda items for pending, or future agendas for pending applications. Do we have anything tonight, Tom, in regard to that?
We did hear from the folks at Blue Flag. Interesting enough, after we left our site visit on Monday, I drove down Palmer Ave and stopped by both on the way south. I stopped by Haddad's development as well as Blue Flag, just to see how things are going there. A lot of things going on. They did get an email from them asking to come back to the board for some administrative changes to kind of move some parking spaces around there to save some trees. So we will likely see something from them perhaps at our August 11th meeting. And we've got the folks from the fairgrounds coming back. I just want to say that in the correspondence that you've gotten, I've given you something I probably should have done a while ago, these quarterly reports I do for the town manager, just to give you an idea that, and I hear John every time he says we should be moving on this apartment. I hear Charlotte every time she says we should have our design regulations done. We just are a very engaged town, a very engaged department, and we're trying to move as many levers as we can to move things along. So I hope that those quarterly reports that you saw will give you just a little insight as to some of the things we got going on. And we just keep trying to move the ball for you as best we can. So Our meeting on the 11th is going to be a number of these decisions we're going to have. We've got some new things coming in. So we'll have a very busy meeting on the 11th. We are currently looking at having our August 18th meeting, our first special not application sort of meeting about our big picture stuff. And hopefully we will have the folks at Davis Studios for that meeting. We've been having a few conversations already about stakeholders in design and trying to move the ball along in public outreach during the age of COVID. So the board's got 3 meetings coming up in August, the 11th, the 18th, and the 25th. And we'll be taking care of business as best we can.
Do I assume that you don't care that it's my anniversary on the 11th? Can I just make that assumption?
That'll be on August 11th?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am, you may make that assumption.
It's my birthday on the 25th.
Pat's birthday on the 25th. We had Paul's birthday on the 22nd. If people would stop having lives, we could get a lot more.
Madam Chairman, I don't know if you can see.
Yes, Jim.
It seems like Union Studios and Davis Straits has fallen off the charts and is not even being brought up anymore.
No, they're coming on the 18th. Didn't you just say
Yeah.
that?
He said Davis something, not, I didn't know what that was.
Davis Straits.
Davis Straits and Union Studio, sorry.
Okay, you said Davis Studios, and I thought it was something else.
No, they're married.
Union
All right.
Studios and Davis Straits.
Sorry, did I mention I was at a selectmen's meeting till midnight last night? Proper nouns go pretty quickly when I'm tired.
Anyways, I'm glad that you intended that, because we really have just dropped that one off. That outline that you showed of all the things you're doing, those are all town things and not necessarily planning board. They're running you ragged, and it's really cutting into your ability to work for us.
Well,
I do what I
Tom
can to help
sent
out the folks I work with.
Tom sent these so everybody can be aware of things that are going on in the planning office.
Oh, I know.
For the town and for the board.
The restaurants, all that stuff. That just everything we're doing to the back and moves all that. But those aren't our jobs. We don't regulate. He's working for the selectmen.
Well, he has to. He's the town planner as well as the planning board administrator.
That work for us.
You know, sharing is good, but I really like sharing the quarterly reports. That was interesting.
Yes,
And
it
I
was.
never get them all. I was amazed at that report.
Yeah. Thank you, Tom, for sharing this. I
that's
almost wish we could flash it up so that the town can see everything that you guys, that the planning office is doing.
Well, and now they're down one person for some
I know.
indefinite length of time.
I know.
This is going to be rough.
Yeah.
Well, we have a lot of help to try to get those things done, but it's just a very busy town, and that's a good thing. That's why you people are here. You didn't want to.
And I know, Tom, you made an effort to hit all the high points of stuff we're waiting on, but 2 points. One, this very complete, thoughtful research proposal that John gave us, dated July 1st, but had been in the making long before that. That really is a priority. Plus, somehow it fell off your list about the recodification that Pat and I have been working on for over a year. We didn't do the hard work, it's true, but we went to a bunch of meetings on for over a year.
So I have not gotten an email from Bob Mitchell about recodification since 7:33 this evening. 7:33 this evening. Bob is like, here's where we're at. So we're waiting for Article 10 to get this thing in your pocket so you can be reading that, so we can share it with the development community. Recodification is the #1 priority on our list, so we can move this thing on and get it done and be finally done with it for November. And we're assuming that-
Okay, thank you.
we're assuming that we're going to have a November town meeting. We're assuming that our spring town meeting is now going to be in September, but
Right.
there's a lot of balls in the air, and we're pushing them and trying to move them as much as we can. But
Thank you.
the holdup, as you know, with recodification has been Article 10, and trying to gently extract Article 10 by Bob Mitchell from Bob Ritchie, who is just, it's his Mona Lisa, it's his Sistine Chapel. It's time to move on with that, and we're hoping to get recodification out ASAP.
Tom, before we go on to announcements, I've noticed a few more chats have come in. Do they have anything to do with what we've been discussing and they need to be brought up? If you're talking, Tom, you've got to unmute.
Sorry about that. There's no, the chats in the background are just folks just touching base, saying, have a good trip. Hope things are fine.
Okay,
Just the board being cordial. And
okay. Are there any announcements? Okay, in general
I have one comment.
correspondence.
Pat, I have one comment.
Pam? Oh. Pam, I called on her first and then Paul, okay? Pam,
Yeah, we are still moving ahead with our housing summit for October via Zoom. And just a loving reminder, we really can't move ahead on affordable housing until we have a zone to put it in. So without a multifamily zone, we're really hand-tied or hamstrung or whatever that colloquialism is for moving ahead with affordable housing. And we all say this is what we want, this is what we need, but we can't do it. And John has been wonderful with his proposal, but again, we can't do that unless we have a multifamily zone. So no pressure, but it's something we really need to move on.
Paul?
Yeah, I'd just like to make a comment. Tom was talking about all the things he has in the air. And it reminds me when I was a very young engineer working for a very eminent engineer, I was reiterating things I had to do. And he looked at me, took a deep breath and said, all your problems, I can live with your problems. My problems are killing me. So think of
Okay.
I'm just thinking of all the families that need housing, that's all.
Yeah. In the correspondence folder, Tom put the list of all the activities. But we also have a letter to us from Charles Walsh, and this is in regard to Bad Martha's. Do you wish to have me read it?
I suppose you should.
Okay, regretfully, Bob says, huh? Okay, dear
No.
planning board members, my name is Charles Walsh and I have been a happy homeowner and taxpayer at 873 East Falmouth Highway for 43 years. During this time, I have enjoyed Falmouth, our home, and our neighbors, including the restaurants across the street. Over these years, the big fishermen and oysters too were ideal neighbors and we patronized them. Their 4 hours of business operation each day were perfect for our residential area without any negative impact on our Falmouth lifestyles. Yes, there was additional traffic, but no music for customers waiting and drinking outdoors. Unfortunately, Bad Martha's Brewery has changed our neighborhood. As you know, the brewery has extended hours of business and a much larger outdoor patron drinking area. The impact is additional traffic with groups of customers waiting and drinking outdoors. How would you feel if your new neighbors across the street from your home had a lawn party every day? I'm also worried about the negative impact the brewery has on the value of our home and those of our neighbors. Before the brewery opened, Falmouth Town Hall staff contacted us for neighborhood impact concerns. The brewery has a very different business model than the previous restaurants. Town Hall did respond to our concerns with a polite thank you. This was our only interaction with town government about the brewery. Bad Martha's seems to have Town Hall's members' sympathetic attention while we are forgotten. We have never had any information about the brewery's expansions, which now seems without limits. Is this normal for such business changes without community input? As I understand it, the expanded outdoor seating is temporary. We don't understand why this outdoor drinking area is in a family neighborhood without a fence. Are there town guidelines for temporary changes? I'm also worried about this becoming permanent, and the sooner it ends, the better. It seems that Bad Martha's current seating capacity is now well beyond the original plan. They now have 3 drinking areas, the original indoor area, an expanded outdoor area with an agreed upon fence that was never completed, and the new temporary and expanding lawn setup. Why is the original outdoor area is fenced in while the new outdoor area has no fence? Hopefully in the future, Town Hall can somehow include our neighborhood in the decision-making process. Our owner-occupied residential neighborhood should get a commitment from the town that all changes in operation require input from neighbors. Bad Martha's doesn't seem to be concerned with their impact on our homes and peace of mind. Please help restore a residential neighborhood to its previous level of activity. Also, what can be done to hold the brewery to their previous agreed upon seating capacity with single outdoor fenced in seating area without music? Tom, is it fair to say that this complaint, what he's complaining about, is because of COVID and the outdoor seating or not? Would you wish to comment on it?
Yes, so Melinda talked with Mr. Walsh earlier and asked him to put his thoughts into words for us. He forwarded that actually to the Board of Selectmen. Julian forwarded to me, and I forwarded to you. And in my comments to Julian, I said this appears to be his concern for the current status about the outdoor seating, temporary outdoor seating for COVID. And I did forward it on to the building department to make sure, as the zoning enforcement folks, that they're complying with the requirements of their temporary permit. And so that was at 3:48 this afternoon. So I've forwarded on to Julia, copied him on it, and to the building department and the zoning enforcement officer to ask if they're complying with their requirements of their outdoor seating under COVID. The other thing we talked about before with the site plan approval we've done for Bad Martha, the requirements that we did in the modification of their plan only kick in if they're doing what they asked to do, make this addition to the back of the property. We did hear from the building department that they're requesting a building permit for that. So as they pull their building permit to do that storage unit, that extra space at the back of the property, they'll have to incorporate all the other things we included in the site plan revisions. So we'll see how that plays out as they move forward with the construction of their property. So there's a number of things going on out there, COVID outdoor seating, addition to the property. So under the bylaw, they have to comply with what they did. They've got to bring us a certificate of occupancy that shows that they're in compliance with their site plan before they can get permission to use that additional space. So where we're at.
Okay, thank you, Tom. So that takes, yes.
About
Charlotte.
Bad Martha's, I would just like to add a piece of information. You might already have it if you've driven by it. It was at least my understanding they were putting up something like a stockade fence across the activity area that will cover the outdoor drinking part. And they mentioned at that time there might be an opening for deliveries. Well, driving by, in fact, it's like the middle section of the fence isn't there.
Right.
So that the noise is coming straight through to the street. Right. I think that what turned out to be a small opening for deliveries is in fact a barn door.
Yeah.
For noise.
I agree with you, Charlotte. I hope it's temporary and they plan to put a stockade.
It doesn't look temporary
there too. No, it does not.
No.
So that is you're correct. That is entirely different from the concept that we had of a stockade fence across to abate the noise. It's a wide open portal for the noise to come through.
Right. The other part is COVID-19, as we all know, is not going away quickly. So that the temporary area that they're allowed to put their picnic tables so that people can, have good social distancing, which they talked to us about and it seemed reasonable. But if it's going to be as long as people are fearing now, how does that impact that choice?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I believe, and I have to check and make sure, but I believe that the temporary outdoor seating is through November 30. So at that point, that's when all those things go away. And I think only the hardiest folks like me who would camp in the snow would likely be sitting outside after November 30, dining here in Falmouth. But we get mild winters. But I think the requirements, the temporary outdoor seating in the governor's orders only go through November 30, but I will certainly check that to make sure.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Thanks. Pam?
Yeah, I just, I really feel for the neighbors.
Yeah.
I just think that this is not what had been proposed, certainly not what I believed would take place there. I mean, it is raucous there. And I drove by, I can tell you there's minimal social distancing and not everybody is wearing masks. So, you know, that's at their own risk. However, it affects everybody in town. And the fact that they're not more conscientious is disturbing to me. But I guess it's not up to them to police people who are sitting outside, although it should be. So it's very disappointing.
The good news is there are young people in Falmouth. No, just
Well, we
look
want to
on the
keep
bright
them
side.
here. We want them in the ICU.
Yep. Okay. Future agenda items, I think we kind of covered that under future agendas for pending applications. Does anybody wish to add anything to future agenda items? Okay, the next meeting is August 11th, as has been stated multiple times tonight. We are adjourned.
Good night.